patch the holes, patch the holes. Oh, this character's bad at this. You know, do this, do this. I'm just waiting for them to give Kazuya a good poke. What's up, YouTube? TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always. And I'm gonna do a video now on how Season 3 kind of dropped the ball. And it seems the timing is quite good considering Season 4 will be released pretty soon. We don't know exactly, but tomorrow we will be getting some news at least. And if I was to guess, I would say it's gonna be like in the middle or maybe at the end of October. So it should be pretty soon. So, Season 3 has been with us now for over a year, and I'm gonna have to say that it dropped the ball. It kind of sucked. There were some good things there, but Tekken 7 had built up a lot of... one hell of a great reputation, actually, with the initial release, the arcade version, and then Season 1 and Season 2. It was widely considered almost flawless. If you just looked away from the so-so netcode, the lack of offline features, a general lack of content, even though it was no Street Fighter V, I would say. It was pretty damn solid, but then comes Season 3, and even the most hardcore enthusiasts feel like, what is going on? So now that Season 4 is coming, I just want to do a final review, that's pronounced correctly, right, of Season 3, and I'm gonna try and put into decent detail what I thought were the problems. And first off, I just want to start with what I perceive to be the biggest issues, and it is with two original characters we received in Leroy and Fakum Ram. Launch Leroy, to me, is the biggest insult I've seen as a Tekken fan in I don't know how many years. I would probably not exaggerate if I said in 10 years time. Tekken 6 had some problems. So Leroy visually is stunning. Everyone was incredibly hype. He looked great. My god, best original design in a million years. And this is what I think happened. I've said this before. Bandai Namco acknowledged that the community is up in arms. Oh, he is getting traction from even casual players. T-Pain is doing a cosplay, famous rapper from the US. Okay, we better do, you know, as CM Punk said about Roman Reigns, better make him look real strong. You know that the Bandai Namco producers, Michael Murray and Harada, acknowledged the hype train behind Leroy, went to the developers and said, you better make him real fucking strong. I know for a fact they did this because Launch Leroy was busted in a way that there's just not a chance in the universe that the balancing team did not understand how strong he was. I think it must have been on purpose. To make it worth their while, I guess. All these casual players who were going to buy into, you know, the Leroy hype and actually purchase the $6 DLC, or maybe incentivize them to buy the Season 3 package, Season Pass. So I think they made him busted on purpose. He had to live up to the hype of his visuals and his personality. And then they nerf him, but he still remains an absolute joke. Because the problem is, at his very core, he's busted. He has everything. And they don't want to remove attacks. So the question is, how do you balance this character? So even though they basically cut off his legs at this point, he's still super, super strong. So Leroy remains an absolute failure in my opinion, and I wish he wasn't in the game. But here's hoping that Tekken 8 gives us a completely reworked and retooled Leroy. Fakum Ram, I'm not going to spend as much time with. People did not immediately recognize him as another Leroy. But the problem was then realizing that what happens when you have a character that has twice the range of the average character and twice as fast movement? You're in for a bad time. So that became increasingly more apparent as time went on, and then the fact that his mix-up capabilities from his 13 frame, you know, hits across the stage, standing free, and his down forward 1. Why does he have a down forward 1 that has like 5 different mix-ups? And there's no option select, you can only guess. And that's just the top of the iceberg. He has everything he needs. Everything you need, Fakuram has. And very solid damage. And the problem is also here, and this is something my sweet Ducky wanted me to talk about, is that how historically, and you saw in Season 2, that what the balancing team does is they balance a lot around execution. So if a character has very demanding execution, the character is allowed a few more % of efficiency and maximum output. You'll note that in Season 2, the top tiers were pretty intense in terms of technicality, like Jin, Geese, Akuma, Steve, all like god tier characters, but very, very demanding. But then the problem with Season 3 is that it goes back to the Tekken 6 formula, where you have characters that are the easiest in the game to operate, and they have the highest output. So if you pick either Fakumram or Leroy, you have a car that is faster than everyone else's cars. You have the fastest car, and it's the easiest to maneuver. I hope that analogy serves as a good example of why it's just a terrible concept. And this is what made Tekken 6 so problematic, that the easiest characters like Bob and Lars were just stronger than pretty much everyone else. And it's just, you just can't do that. And it seems like Bandai Namco realized that with Tekken 7, and then they did a 180 and we're back in Tekken 6, and it's even worse than Tekken 6 was with Leroy and Fakumram. So deeply problematic characters, in my opinion. And then you have to discuss the power creep, which I find also very, very insulting. You give half the cast new moves that only serve to extend wall combo or combo output. Basically wall travel damage, wall combo damage, and it's extremely dull. Makes the game much more combo oriented. The stages are too small to support this new combo standard. Way too many characters do wall to wall now. I don't think every single launch should lead to a wall combo. I thought it was more interesting in Season 1 and 2. And this also ties, and how they've made way too many characters all around. It kind of ties into the loss of identity we've seen. It's like Lee was always known for his incredible wall travel. He was second to none. He was number 1. If you play like Tekken 4, Tekken 5, no one comes close to Lee. Tekken 6, he's also incredible. Tag 2, incredible. But the thing is, having done research on this, I would place Lee maybe not even in top 10 these days in terms of wall travel. So you realize what has happened here. That used to be one of his, big undeniable qualities. And these days, he's not special at all in that regard. He's lost that part of his identity. And when you used to incentivize players to, with execution, to back 2 loops to get incredible wall travel, it's like, well, these days, you have characters that have much less demanding execution and have just much better wall travel and combos. What does that do for Lee's identity, and how does it incentivize people to learn back 2 loops, other than being in love with Lee as a character and being a character enthusiast? And more identity problems are like, Heihachi is much less interesting when you give him a while standing launcher. That used to be a very cool concept with the character, that you'd punish with while standing 1 into Iron Hand, and if you wanted a proper launch, you had to crouch cancel electric. In that way, the character was very, very interesting, in his high execution demands. Super technical. And then you give him a while standing launcher, and it's like, for fuck's sake, that was supposed to be a problem with the character. The inconsistent and very demanding while standing punish. And then you have Brian, it's like, oh, he has a jet upper for 14 frame punish. He has 10 frame punishers that are not very good. While standing punishment is pretty terrible. What do? They suddenly give him a good 12 frame punish in 4-free. That used to be a problem with the character. Get up kicks were punished with standing 4. And then they, you know, plug in that hole. They fix that. They give him a 13 frame while standing punish in full crouch down for 2-1. It's really good. And it's like they've done this sort of stuff with many characters. Just make them all round. Patch the holes. Patch the holes. Oh, this character's bad at this. You know, do this, do this. I'm just waiting for them to give Kazuya a good poke. Or Marduk a good poke. Oh, Marduk gets a great while standing launcher. It's like they don't understand that they ruin the game by making the characters more identical to each other. What makes Tekken interesting is that certain characters can do certain things. If everyone can do everything, the characters lose distinction and identity. And that's been a problem with Season 3. It's done a lot of that. And we still have pretty large balancing problems. Top tiers still... Top tiers. Characters like Gigas are very overlooked. Lars got a lot of tuning, but he's still pathetic. Miguel, what's up with his arms? The hitboxes on the arms? It's like it seems like certain characters they just don't give a shit about. And it would be kind of nice to see the top 10 characters come down a little bit and the bottom 10 come up a little bit. But that's subjective, my opinion. Another big problem was that we finally got frame data, but we had to pay for it. Which is like, you could argue that, it's a big deal. Assembling frame data for Tekken because it's there are so many moves. But shouldn't this be a pretty automated process? And what does it say exactly to your hardcore fans, you know, that have been sticking with you no matter what, that you refuse to give us frame data for so long, and then you change your mind. You're like, you know what? You guys can finally have frame data after 25 years. And you want to charge for it. When every other, like, competitor worth mentioning in terms of fighting games have frame data these days accessible in practice mode. So again, this is just problematic, I would say. And then the last point I want to bring up is regarding stability. It's been... quite apparent how the PC version of the game, I can't speak for PS4 as I've not played it myself, but the PC version of this game has become more unstable with time. It feels like with almost every season update, it gets less stable. I see more crashes, I see more frame drops. It's getting increasingly more sensitive to tabbing or just doing anything, any activity on your PC that could be seen as intrusive, and it just crashes and crashes and crashes. And desyncs are super, frequent when I play online. In Season 1, I see it super seldom, but these days it's like suddenly the opponent is moving very weirdly and I can immediately identify that, oh god, this is a desync. And I'm just getting it more and more. So yeah, this is to me like the very apparent problems of Season 3. And it's just objectively worse than it was during Season 2 and Season 1 in my opinion. And I'm really hoping Season 4 is going to fix it. I think a noteworthy thing though that Season 3 did well was, at least in terms of balancing, like... on the point of balancing free execution, Jin's forward 4 combo was made much harder. Steve's down for 2 counter it combo was made much harder. There are more examples of this, but it's like they really tried to balance out those characters and make them even more technically demanding. Also worth mentioning, making everyone more all-around is giving many more characters these long-range launchers. You know, like Hwoarang back 3, Marduk down for 1, Alisa back 4-4. You know, suddenly a lot of characters can launch Heihachi's Sword for 2 in certain angles. And it's like, and they buffed the punishment on everyone? A lot of characters got new 13 frame punishers? And it's like, okay, so you're increasing the punishment capabilities on many characters. What happens now in terms of identity? It's yeah, a lot of questionable decisions. But it's as they said, like they want and please I don't know exactly who I'm quoting because I've had this quoted to myself, but apparently the Tekken team have said that they want people to effortlessly transition from one character to another. So they want to make have a universal standard applied to all the characters. A lot of characters should have hop kicks, down for 2s, down for 1s, that operate in the same way. And the same punishers. 10, 12, 15, 13. And that's not good. Then you go to Tekken 5 and characters are vastly different. 8 frame jab, 10 frame jab, 15 frame down for 1, 13 frame down for 1, and no one has these god moves that do everything. But I've ranted for long enough, but it's nice to get that little disappointment out there on Season 3, and I'm really being optimistic about Season 4. I hope the new moves are interesting, although the game's going to get more bloated. It's already bloated enough with, what, 49, 50 characters? And now we're gonna get even more characters? This is gonna be difficult. How do you balance? How do you lab this? It's impossible. But you know what? I'm gonna remain optimistic. I hope we get some cool stuff. Hopefully the balancing team apply their best effort so far. Yes. But thanks everyone for listening to me. I hope it was interesting. I hope it doesn't come off as too negative. But to be honest, Season 3, if you look at it objectively, it's been a little bit of a clusterfuck. Leroy and Fakumram are inexcusable, in my opinion. So thanks for listening. Bye-bye. I really hope you enjoyed that video. I've been making Tekken content now on YouTube for 13 years. Time really flies, and I'd love to keep going even further. So if you'd like to support me by leaving a like on this video, subscribing to my channel, or even going to my Patreon, which you can find the link below in the description, and become a supporter, I'd really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.